Good morning, Eagles fans everywhere on this Saturday here at the NovaCare Complex. Our continuing coverage of the Eagles 2020 training camp presented by Independence Blue Cross continues. And the Eagles, as you see, moving indoors to the 60-yard facility here in South Philadelphia. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. And Fran, we are going to concentrate on, well, the offensive line. Jason Peters is not a candidate we think to be a center, but you know, the way things are going here, you might as well cross-train.
The more you can do, right? That's the saying this time of year as the team prepares to cut the roster down to 53 in just about a week,
In a
right?
week.
Yeah.
In a week, Fran. In 2 weeks, the Eagles open the season at the Washington football team, and they will be without two starters from an offensive line that they believed was set to be one of the very best in the NFL. Brandon Brooks with the Achilles tendon injury. We knew that in the spring. And then Andre Dillard on Thursday, Eagles' second-year man, first-round draft pick last year, suffers a biceps injury. He was the projected starter at left tackle. Lane Johnson remains day-to-day with an injury. And you see in the background there, that is Dillard with his arm in a sling as the Eagles stretching out Matt Pryor. So the loss of Dillard creates a significant hole. We are still looking to see right guard and how Jason Peters is making that transition. And then Lane Johnson day-to-day with a lower body injury. Fran, this is something that I have not seen in a very long time, if at all, for the Eagles along the offensive line. Buddy Ryan days for sure. You know, Rich Kotite had his moments. Ray Rhodes tried to get the O-line right. Andy Reid, from the time Andy Reid got here, the offensive line has been right. Certainly in the case of Doug Peters and Jeff Stoutland, absolutely. But now you're talking about two, potentially three positions and a backup positions. Who's playing where?
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and a lot of the guys that we see right here in this shot are going to be vying for a lot of those roles. You know, you see a couple of rookies in there, some young veterans. You see a guy like Jordan Mailata who has not taken a regular season snap. A lot of these guys looking like, okay, we've got to compete for these, whether it's a starting job, whether it's a swing backup tackle, swing interior lineman, all these guys are going to be vying for these jobs.
And we have talked about this, Fran. The fact that there was no spring, and every team's dealing with this, no spring workouts, no OTAs, all of those reps, those thousands and thousands of reps, because the linemen do this, as you've noticed here, because we've been live streaming practice for a couple of weeks now, and we'll continue tomorrow from Lincoln Financial Field, 1:30, as the Eagles scrimmage. Our first look inside Lincoln Financial Field.
That's right.
But those reps cannot be duplicated. And this is what they do every single day from spring through the season. It is a labor of precision, repetition. It's synchronized dancing on the field with five gigantic players.
It's a lot of muscle memory, because when you're out there and you see Jeff Stoutland there in the background on the left side, he preaches that these guys have to get everything. It's got to be instant reaction to everything, because when you're in the trenches, everything happens so fast. You can't be thinking out there. It's got to be all natural.
Jason Kelce, the Eagles' starting center, is obviously the brains of the operation, the communicator of the whole group, and so he's got a lot of responsibility. However it works here, and we know from Doug Peterson, who I spoke with today in an exclusive interview, you can hear that on the Eagles Insider podcast coming out in a bit of time today, identified the following options for the offensive line. Jason Peters, of course. We all know that he can be the starter.
At any point.
Right, at left tackle. But they really like the way Jordan Mailata has come on in the last week or so here. Matt Pryor is a possibility for him.
Sure.
He's already played right tackle in camp, right guard in camp. I thought I saw him at left guard, but apparently not. And he's taking some reps at left tackle. So he's a possibility. And then Jack Driscoll is another name who is a possibility.
You talk about versatility along the offensive line. Dave, I spent a lot of time thinking about the NFL draft and team building. We talk about it every single week on the Journey to the Draft podcast, driven by AAA. And we talk about offensive linemen and how important versatility is for these guys. And this is exactly why. You need to have these guys in that room, because at a moment's notice, You might need to move a guy who's been practicing at right guard over to left tackle, a guy that's been at left tackle over to right tackle, a guy that's been playing right guard over to center. You need those guys to be able to do a lot of different things along the offensive line while still maintaining that precision, that timing that we talked about that Jeff Stoutland prioritizes so much in the trenches.
And a player, Fran, that, had his ups and downs here, was the starter in Super Bowl 52, the win, of course, over the Patriots. A game that you can watch, by the way, on Thursday night, 8 o'clock. That game will be re-aired on NBC 10 in Philadelphia, followed by a special Eagles season preview. But Halapoulivaati Vaitai was a valuable player for the Eagles. He could come in as the fifth offensive lineman when the Eagles went in to go heavy. He could play both tackle positions, could play guard in a pinch.
That's it.
So the Eagles don't have that here. So this is a major stress on Stoutland and his staff, and it's young players have to get ready before their time. Let's face it.
And that's what Doug Peterson talked about today when he met with the media. Was look, these guys aren't as experienced right now, but when Big V went in there, he didn't have that experience. The only way you can get experience is by playing. So we saw a little bit of Matt Pryor last year, but whether it's Jordan Mailata, whether it's Jack Driscoll, whether it's Prince Tega Wanogho, whoever it is along the offensive line, those guys are going to have to get these early reps. They're not going to be able to get it in the preseason. So they're going to have to get it once the regular season kicks off. And you got to go from there. There's going to be growing pains with young guys, but that's part of the art of doing business.
This is our continuing coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Indoor practice today. Inclement weather has forced the Eagles into a 60-yard practice bubble. Cool view there of the practice bubble. Two reporters are designated the pool reporters today, so those two, as you see on the right side of the screen, are allowed in, nobody else. Good-looking group of young running backs in this training camp. Next to Miles Sanders, who's still not practicing. Boston Scott has looked excellent in camp. Elijah Holyfield really has flashed. People have noticed it. Michael Warren, Adrian Killins, two young running backs who were not drafted. And then, of course, working out, loosening up, Corey Clement, who I think's looked really good. I mean, hard to say because they really haven't been much tackling, but he seems to look good.
I would comment on that, but I'm distracted by the size of Elijah Holyfield's thighs. I really enjoyed your interview with him on the Eagles Insider podcast.
He was a cool kid. And he's a powerful runner. And he's got a little bit more kind of wiggle than I thought.
He had a really nice run. What was it, 2 practices ago, down in the high red zone,
little
little spin move. He shook off the rookie linebacker Sean Bradley and raced to the end zone. He's been intense. He's been jawing back and forth with the defense over the last week or so. A fun player to be able to watch.
You mentioned he's intense. I noticed that he plays with some anger.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of people know his father. One of the best boxers in history, Evander Holyfield. He brings that mentality, and it's kind of cliche to say at this point, but he brings that physicality to the running back spot for sure.
So clearly, this practice with shorts, sweatpants, shells, helmets will not be of the, highest tempo and intensity, but a valuable one nonetheless. 8 days away from the start of the real kind of preparations for the regular season. Cuts are next Saturday.
It's crazy.
4 o'clock, September 5th. And then a day later, you kind of go, all right, let's get our practice squad together and really focus in on the Washington football team. And that's the thing, Fran. The Eagles open the season against Washington, okay? And then who's number 2 on the Rams?
Yeah.
And Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And so this offensive line that is, let's face it, it's challenged right here. And then the Bengals after that. You got to play. You got to be ready to go right away. Now, Fran, there are things that teams can do just to give quarterback Carson Wentz time. 3-step drops, roll the pocket, max protect. Let's talk about some of that.
Sure.
What do you see some of the options being?
Well, certainly you mentioned a couple of them, right? You want to get the run game going. You're going to do a lot of different things in terms of all the different backfield actions because that's going to slow the defense down. Any kind of play action, it might be jet sweeps, it might be guys moving around. all that stuff slows down the front seven. So anything in that standpoint, the screen game for sure. If you're going to invite pressure up the field, then you're going to try and hit them, with screens over the top, draw plays, all these things. Whenever an offense feels like, hey, we don't like a matchup along the defensive side, or we feel like we want to take advantage of that, you're going to try and run a lot of those kind of things. So certainly something there. You mentioned moving the pocket as well, getting Carson Wentz, whether it's off play action or just sprinting out of the pocket, you're going to see him move the pocket as well.
The news of the day, if you are just joining us, head coach Doug Peterson confirming reports that second-year left tackle Andre Dillard will miss the 2020 season. Torn biceps, suffered in Thursday's practice. So the Eagles were really counting on Dillard, who had certainly shown signs that he was ready to take that next step after a 2019 rookie season. The first-round draft pick last year started 4 games, 3 of them at left tackle. So what do the Eagles do with Dillard gone, Brandon Brooks gone with Achilles tendon injury, with Lane Johnson still not at practice, day-to-day with a lower body injury? A lot of change, a lot of holes, a lot of unsettled positions 2 weeks and a day before the regular season begins. So that's our story today as the Eagles move inside for practice here at the NovaCare Complex.
Getting ready for some special teams work, it looks like. You see a couple of the Eagles' defensive backs here in the picture.
Now, if you're asking, can Cameron Johnston kick it high enough to hit the ceiling of the indoor facility? The answer is, why, of course. And if you've ever been in there, you notice we have a lot of events in there. It's a 60-yard field. And that's all the space we've got here in South Philly, people. This is the city. So the Eagles making do. Great facility, but I think in terms, I remember when Chip Kelly came here from Oregon, some of his staff were like, well, what is this? Because they're used to working at hundreds of acres of land.
That's right.
We're in South Philly, yo. So we do what we got. we all we need. This all we got. This all we need. Throwing around the yos. You see Andre Dillard in the background there, torn right biceps. Shame for him.
Yeah, no question. He was having a solid summer, and you've seen the strides that he's been able to make from a strength standpoint, from a technique standpoint as well.
Yeah, well, and he's got to stay sharp as he recovers.
Yep. And
continue to work on his strength after that bicep is healed. But it's a tough injury. It really will. It'll be a challenge for him to keep developing the body, keep developing the strength that he obviously clearly worked on.
Yep.
From last year to this year.
No question. We know all the time about rookies making that jump from year 1 to year 2. He's going to have to make that jump from year 2 to year 3, which is another opportunity for sure for those young guys.
No other real injury updates for you. Javon Hargrave remains out of practice with the upper body injury. Not sure about Derek Barnett, who was week to week with a lower body injury, defensive end. What other significant injuries do we have here? Boston's got Miles Sanders still out.
Yep.
Day to day, is he? Or is
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, with a lower body injury.
Lane Johnson day to day.
Lane Johnson day to day with the lower body injury. We're being very vague on the injury reports here.
That's right.
The NFL does not require you to disclose specific injuries until I think the week of the games. And you see those who are not practicing, Miles Sanders there, wearing his mask. The COVID numbers in the NFL, very, knock on wood, encouraging.
We have only one player currently on the COVID list.
Correct. And none here.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lighter practice for the Eagles. And a reminder, tomorrow we will come your way from Lincoln Financial Field. Join us. It'll be a scrimmage, and you're not going to see, a ton, but you'll see 20 or 30 minutes of the Eagles on the field for the first time with cameras at Lincoln Financial Field. And I'm sure that there will be as close to game simulation as possible.
Yes.
Doug Peterson wants the players to go through the game experience. Park your cars, find the locker room, get on the field, warm up, hear the noise. So everything will be simulated, but of course, the one thing that we will be missing, and that we'll miss at least through the foreseeable future here, you, the fans. And you are missed as I know that you miss being here.
I thought that your interview with Eagles president Don Smolinski was really insightful on our recent Eagles Insider podcast. Just talking about the decision and the whole process behind that.
Yeah, and it's up to the decision for both Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. That's what people have to understand. It's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and that's why it's important that everybody wear your mask. Proper hand hygiene. Avoid large crowds. Get the numbers down, and maybe we can get some fans into the stands in both Pittsburgh and Philadelphia this season. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
Everywhere across the country, too. NFL, college football. You mentioned Pittsburgh. The same applies for University of Pittsburgh. They're in the ACC. The ACC trying to get their college football season underway as well.
Look at Stoutland giving some instruction there. Get your hands and punch. See Prince?
He's an athletic kid.
Yeah, it's the knee that really held him back, right?
Yep.
Bad knee. So you hope that he can rehab here in a professional environment and grow into his body, get some strength, and then we'll see how he develops for the future for the Philadelphia Eagles. You're looking live at continuing coverage of the 2020 Eagles training camp presented by Independence Blue Cross. Insider Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy. We're indoors today. Some rain around on this Saturday here at the NovaCare Complex. And it's really been fun taking a look. Fran, look, the way I look at this team, very promising.
Yeah.
Offensive line, clearly a concern. Eagles have to answer have to answer some challenges. And it's weird to say that because it just doesn't happen. But I love the way the wide receivers have stepped up. I think the running back group looks good. They certainly look good enough that the Eagles haven't gone out to sign a veteran.
Yep.
I think the tight ends are excellent and going to be used in a variety of ways, including perhaps 3 tight end sets. And I think the defense looks fast, Fran. And I'm sorry for interrupting, but
no, you're good.
Fast and pieces that seem on the back end fairly interchangeable.
And tight knit on that side too. On both sides, but defensively, you can just tell that group is really in sync. The defensive front has been so disruptive. And you talk about the offensive line, Dave. It's funny. I was over the course of the last couple of days, just kind of looking around the different teams in the NFC and the NFC East. Dallas has had a couple injuries this summer along the offensive line. They lose, obviously, Travis Frederick to retirement. They don't have a clear-cut answer there in the middle of that offensive line. The New York Giants, they lose their left tackle due to an opt-out leading into the season. They've had some injuries up front this summer. Washington, they're ushering in a new look left side of the offensive line as well. So, the questions in the trenches, certainly not only here in Philadelphia, a lot of other places as well.
Here's what I predict that the fans will see in NFL games this season early on for sure. A lot of jailbreaks at the offensive line and a lot of big plays allowed by the defense. I think it's just going to be not street football, but there's just going to be a lot more mental mistakes. And I think young players forced into action when they're just not ready. And I'm not saying that the Eagles are doing that, but when you're talking about a Jordan Mailata potentially playing in his first NFL game at left tackle in the opener, and Jack Driscoll, who's never even played in a preseason game, as a potential either starter or key reserve, you are accelerating their progress. So we look at practice here as Carson Wentz runs the offense on air. And in this grouping, you've got Peters at right guard and Pryor at left tackle. So I'm not sure Mailata is actually taking reps today. But that's Matt Pryor. That's Isaac Seumalo on the offensive line there.
Couldn't see who was on the right side from that one.
I couldn't see who right tackle was. Let's take a look at this rep. Well, now they're going back up number 2s. So who else is in that offensive line group right here? We have only a couple of cameras in the facility here, in this indoor facility.
Mailata.
Guys, you are in the huddle. Was that Jordan Mailata?
Looks like I thought so.
Can't tell if that's the. Yeah, that's not. I got you. It's doing great stuff. That is Mailata with a tight end over there, right? Or two tight ends over there. So they have two tight ends, and then on the right side it is. Yeah, it is Mailata. You're right. Mailata and then Pryor on the left side. Okay.
Basically, in this drill, there's no defense. They're just kind of walking through a couple plays that they're planning to run during the course of practice today, and just kind of speeding through. So it's a fast walkthrough.
And Nate Sudfeld taking some reps there. The play action rollout left, throws, completes the pass. Yeah, big play. The three's up now.
Should get Merrill in to just do play-by-play of walkthrough.
He would love to do it. He would love to do it. Jalen Hurts, second-round draft pick.
Honestly, I would take you doing your Merrill impression. I think
Over
that would
Merrill?
be suitable. Yeah, that would be a suitable replacement.
Thank you. Thank you, friend. It's just not. There's nothing as good as the real Merrill.
No.
Elijah Holyfield, Boston Scott in the backfield there. I mean, guys, you can't get closer to practice than this. There we go. Fran, this is going to be a wild week.
It is.
I mean, look, we got practice, we got cuts, trades. Who knows? I think anything goes this last week of practice before the rosters are cut down around the NFL. So our continuing coverage of the 2020 Philadelphia Eagles training camp here at the NovaCare Complex, presented by Independence Blue Cross. And if you're just joining us, news of the day, Doug Peterson confirming that Andre Dillard out with the biceps injury, saying that the left tackle position is an open competition.
Important knowing that they can always move Jason Peters to left tackle
Yes.
the day before the opener and know that he can play that position. Now you can get these quality reps for these younger guys. So, the guys that we have talked about, the Mailatas, the Pryors, the Tegowanogos, the Jack Driscolls, all these guys, you can get them valuable reps with the first team now, knowing that you can move JP to left tackle.
But if you do that, who's taking the right guard reps, Fran?
That's a very valid question,
That's
Dave.
the question. We all know that Matt Pryor started the playoff game last year against Seattle at right guard. You know who I believe? I believe Sayamalo could play. Remember as a rookie,
He's done
played?
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he's really come a long way at left guard.
We don't talk enough about what he did his rookie year. He played 4 out of 5 offensive line positions as a rookie.
And did that very much at Oregon State, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Son of a coach. His brother is a coach as well.
I mean, this group right here, this offensive line group for the next 2 weeks, like every single moment has to be maximized. You gotta just squeeze out every bit of goodness from every rep and make sure that all are aware of what's happening mentally. Because we're going down deep into the depth chart, and the season hasn't even started.
That's right. It's weird that we're so close to cut down day because with the preseason games, you almost like work your way up to feeling that, because it is a very weird feeling on cut day, obviously, because so many guys lose their jobs around the league. It's a tough day. Also exciting. It's a bittersweet because you've got the season right on the horizon, but without the preseason games, we haven't had that build up. So just kind of looking at the calendar, waiting.
Yeah. That's the way it is here. We're every team in the same boat. We just want to get to the regular season here in the NFL and keep everybody healthy and have a great season. But technique is so important. Assignment's so important. And friend, you just not only we talk about the practice reps, but like you mentioned, those preseason games, I think everybody kind of realizes, hey, I really miss watching the Eagles in the preseason. And for the players, I mean, my gosh, that's the best training tool of all. How are you going to respond when the tempo is higher and when the, so to speak, bullets are live.
Preseason broadcast numbers will be higher than ever next summer, would be my guess.
How about when the regular season starts this year?
It's going to be huge.
One of maybe Jeff Stoutland's most challenging coaching jobs, perhaps in his career. A man who last year, the Philadelphia Eagles had, I think 3 players in the Pro Bowl, right?
Right, yep.
Kelsey? I think it was 3. Kelsey,
Lane,
Brooks, and Lane.
Yeah.
The whole right side of the offensive line goes to the Pro Bowl. Seumalo, a solid, if not more than solid, left guard.
Yep.
Jason Peters and Dillard doing a nice job at left tackle. And now? And Vaitai, that most trusted swing guy. Just stay healthy, JP. Just stay healthy. What have you heard about one more year here?
What have you heard about JP and
I've heard he's played
performance?
I've heard he's played really well at right guard.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes you think, well, maybe he has got more durability at that position. But I don't know. This is Carson Wentz's blind side we're talking about. Sua Opeta, one of the young players in the mix. Nate Herbig, second-year player who was on the active roster last year. Who else are we looking at here, Fran? I can't quite see all the numbers.
It's like Luke Jariga holding the left pad there.
Okay. News on the right. Is that Driscoll? No, that's June Jones.
That's Julian Good-Jones, yeah.
Good-Jones, yeah.
Obviously,
Isaac
Seumalo. Yep.
Good-Jones is an interesting
player.
All righty. That will do it for this Saturday here at the NovaCare Complex. Our continuing coverage of the Eagles Training Camp 2020 presented by Independence Blue Cross comes your way tomorrow, 1:30 from, Lincoln Financial Field. Make sure you're with us then and dream on. Let's dream about 2020 and how great it can be. Thank you all for joining us today. Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy saying, have yourselves a great Eagles day and fly, Eagles, fly.